including quite a lot of input from young people from St Lawrence, so that was absolutely invaluable. We started off first thinking about the fact that the Joint Strategic Assessment booklet, which you've got on your tables, doesn't include any section on arts, culture and leisure. We thought this was an omission. We then went on to talk about the sports facilities, in particular the green fields, the Victory Field, the Calder Close and Avon Sports and Countryside Park in general, and it was debated as to whether or not it would be quite a good idea to think whether this should come under community ownership, not defined, but under the localism bill, as I'm sure you're aware, it's nice to have, or it's intended that you shall have, ownership of local facilities. So that was flagged up as one area that possibly might be looked at. We then talked about the swimming pool, and some of the young people were rather sad that they no longer can swim there for free. I think I quoted them correctly. They used to have membership which they could present, and they can't any longer get free access. That may be something that could be looked at as well. General family facilities, there was possibly considered a lack of family-friendly facilities in the town, and someone suggested that perhaps we ought to form, or maybe this lady in particular may want to form alongside, say, the climate-friendly group, a family-friendly group in Bradford and Avon who could, if you like, argue the case for having things in Bradford and Avon which are helpful to families, be it crossing the road facilities, be it sports facilities, or whatever. There was then a discussion about the other facilities in the town. For instance, the library. It was felt that that was not used in the way it should be. It was underused, in fact. The young children on our table certainly didn't seem to use it very much. And it was we were discussing whether that should be an area again that we looked at, where you've got a facility, but it's not really fully used. I underline what was said earlier, that the youth centre was reportedly very well used, except they said at weekends. So maybe that could be looked at as well. The youth also were looking to see whether they could have a skateboard ramp. The one at Bolton apparently is made of metal, and it's actually got sharp edges and is not very usable. So we suggested, or I have to take responsibility for this, I suggested they actually went off, researched it, and came back with a design with all the specs for the concrete, etc., and then presented that as a project that could perhaps, hopefully, find funding ultimately. So I think they're going to go and look at that. We talked about the Arts Festival and the fact that at the moment it seems to be not active, and the fact that within the town there's a huge amount of creative talent, and it's sad that in a way that's not being brought together in the form of an arts festival, which we've had so successfully in the past. More wet weather facilities for tourists and local people within the town, that could be a benefit as well. And then I guess we finally ended up, well, actually we touched on this all the way through, under the theme of the localism bill. As probably a lot of you may know, there is a move within Wiltshire Council, and I think this is throughout the country, to have campus projects. Now, if you don't know what a campus project is, basically it's where you try to bring as many community facilities under one umbrella, under one roof, so that you make the cost of having those facilities much, much less expensive, because you design a building that will provide all those facilities. So you could bring in my case, a museum, you could have the TIC, you could have leisure facilities, you could have a lecture hall, and someone from the National Trust said that they don't find that there's an ideal place in town for them to have the lectures. They go to Scene, because that's got parking, whereas the one in town, it's Margaret School, in other words, they have to stop, clock, watch, and then dash off at 4 o'clock, rather than stay on. And certainly the museum, along with others of us, are trying to pursue this actively, and we hope that possibly we can move on this particular sphere. We're looking at land in the centre of town, down by the river, where the police station, fire station and so forth are. So if there are groups out here, and this is just a general appeal, who would like to be considered as possibly participatory bodies within a big campus project, then please let me or one of my fellow trustees, Chris Taylor is here as well, know, because we'd like to take that forward. Finally, we also feel, again wearing the museum hat, that we need to be not just people asking for money all the time. We want to be proactive in trying to help the local economy. So what is it that we can bring to the local economy? Well, certainly we support the business of bringing tourists into this town, and that is a very important element to the economy. And I just asked the children there, can they think of things that were made in Bradford and Avon that they could list on fingers of one hand? They did struggle. But anyway, with a bit of help and prompting, we got to rubber. So rubber. And then I said, well, what's made of rubber? And they said, well, tars. Yes, but there's lots of other things. Velcro handles, aerosols, and all the things that those of you who know Avon rubber know. And they didn't really know anything about it. I felt this was very sad. Tennis balls, they didn't know those were made in Bradford and Avon. Lots of other things also, I'm sure. So I think there's a big story to be told there. There's a big heritage thing that message that we need to promote and tell, and hopefully in the years to come we can do that. And this is going to be, as far as I'm concerned, an investment in Bradford and Avon's future. Thank you very much.